Have you ever tried to say something, but the words just can't come out? Been paralyzed with fear? Or can't make your body move? Do you wish that you could be the person that you imagine in your head? Sometimes it can feel like you're trying to pilot yourself into being the person you want to be. It's a reason why people use titles and usernames, monikers, and personas. It separates us from our bodily limitations. But have you ever hit a home run? Or said the right thing? Or threaded the needle at just the right moment? I think that video games can be more than just entertainment. They can provide an opportunity to learn and experience a feeling that most people can't get. And those feelings can give you guidance on how to find success in other things in your life. To a young, lone, disenfranchised person, Armored Core did that for me.
Mission objective achieved. System switched to normal mode.
Supposedly Astral Chain, which takes a lot of those details from that game as well. Let's get rid of this shield, because only losers use shields. It is nice I can tell which are the DLC weapons, because they've got augmentation slots, which again is this... Armored Core had tuning, which allowed you in some of the games to increase certain stats, and you had like number tuning points to use. For Answer had a really cool tuning system where you had that on a global level. So you're not changing the individual part stats, you're changing the resulting stats. So like, not your individual defense of your arm, but your total defense. And it also had stabilizers, because it had a weight balance mechanic. And then Verdict Day just kind of took a step back, and you can just... There was like a triangle of power, reload, and lock-on speed that you can pick for your weapons. This game expands that to this augment system, which is closer to like Monster Hunter World's decoration system, where you have augmentations you can equip to certain parts. And that just expands this huge metagame possibility, because this game lets you equip and unequip weapons and body parts. Like if your arm gets blown off, you can go salvage an arm from another AC, so another orbital, and another, I'm gonna get all my terminology here confused, another arsenal. Orbital's the pilot, Arsenal's the mech, and you can equip it. So like your incentive to, I assume, not have your parts destroyed is that you lose your augmentations, but we'll see if that's the case. I haven't gotten to that point in the demo yet, so I haven't seen how the augmentations work, but that is, again, a genius idea. And these are the type of things I think people are going to really overlook this game for. Because most games' approach to marginal trade-offs is like, oh, this thing is better, but it costs more money. Or you get it later in the game. And they try to like arbitrarily balance things with like skill points and stuff like that. Another interesting thing is that the weapons are color-coded. You can't change the color of the weapons, which lets you at a glance, as a player, tell which weapons a character is using. Because I know this one's the auto-fire version because it's white instead of black. We'll see if there's weapon coloring later. In AC there is. It makes this really fascinating multiplayer metagame concept where you're not just playing the best AC, you're also playing the best AC for your specific experience and control scheme, and the best arsenal for the map and the abilities that are dropped, and which weapons you're bringing in. You can have the same frame but with different weapons and equip different augmentations for those specific weapons, and drop and swap between them as necessary in mid-battle. Expanding that tuning system out to where it's no longer a like single-player garage focus system, but is now dynamically changing mid-combat, absolute genius idea. Verdict Day had a very similar idea where you could lower an enemy's defense mid-combat by destabilizing them. That's about as far as it went, and it made this like really interesting rock. It was like playing 4-dimensional rock paper scissors, where you could have a huge advantage over someone, and then lose that advantage if they like switched weapons and things like that. So, it's absolutely fascinating, and I think these are things about this game that will go highly overlooked. Shields, we don't need any shields. I'm gonna stick with this. And we did get the missiles, so we're gonna actually equip those. Shoulder unit. So that you can see that there's both shoulders and these little pylons here. The shoulder weapons, there's only one you can equip, but there's also like large cannons, things like that. I wonder why they didn't do 2 shoulder weapons and 2 pylons, which are essentially your swappable hangers. AC had 2 shoulder weapons and then 2 hanger units, but to open the hanger, you had to actually drop your weapon entirely. Whereas this game lets you swap between them like Armored Core 5, but Armored Core 5 didn't have the back weapons, so it's a bit of a complicated mess. Armored Core 5, of course, didn't use the back weapons because they had ready position, which this game supposedly has a system with as well. The theme of this is just, I am over the moon, absolutely excited by the fact that this game manages to carry almost everything good about every Armored Core game and make it work in a single game. You have ready position, you have quick boost, you've got auto-fire weapons, you've got a control scheme that's even better and fully customizable. You have a tuning system that is both in combat and in your hangar. Like, there's a little bit of a few things that they cut back on, like the fact you only have 3 colors instead of 5 colors and you can't color your weapons. But, like, it's fantastic. I think the only gripe I have about the way this game's progression is being handled is, marginal trade-offs are being handled stats-wise, is that the mech designs are a little samey. And maybe it's because the demo didn't have a lot of parts. But you can't at a glance tell exactly which parts a mech is using, which you could in most of the Armored Core games. Like, you could look at an AC and just in an instant say, okay, that guy has a really high shell defense, really bad energy defense, low turning speed. Because you knew the parts and you knew the stats, and they looked very distinct from each other. This game, all the parts kind of look the same, and maybe I will unlock more that are a lot more variable.
Each assigned mercenary. We have also confirmed that the invading enemy force consists of these seized AI.
Sorry if I'm skipping past a lot of the dialogue here.
The area has been divided.
I do plan to actually put this up for people to view that aren't playing the game. But
you will be accompanying Bulletworks.
One of the things I do like is that this game actually does refer to your character's name, but in the AC games they said Raven, because that was like your title, and they're being very impersonal about it. Because everyone that was a pilot was a Raven. They're just like, hey, mercenary, person who I don't care about enough to say your name. This game gets around that fact by putting your name in the captions, but just saying you in the recorded dialogue.
Briefing over.
Also, hello to some of our new viewers, Yuha, Rare Scorpion, and Lurks. Feel free to do chat. This is a chat engaged. This is a very chat engaged stream. Sorry if I haven't responded yet, but yeah, I am very thoroughly impressed. I was not expecting this game to be as good as it was, especially after the debacle that was Left Alive, which was from the Armored Core 5 director, and he went to Square Enix to work on a front mission game, and the game came out very bad. This game is getting 7 out of 10 reviews, which for a mech game in the style of Armored Core is basically a perfect score. I think 4Answer maybe got a few 8 out of 10s, and that's just because they played like the story, but 4Answer also has problems that don't come out in the review. One thing that is nice is that they carried over the mail system, which is how most of what you're seeing here in these like dialogue snippets are covered in Armored Core through the mail. And they have this here as well, so it's like we finally got a proper Armored Core spiritual successor that doesn't take a step back. And that is surprising, because the last time that came out was Armored Core Last Raven, which was a full move forward for the franchise, and then Armored Core 4 was a step back for a lot of things that Last Raven had, which was really disappointing, and it split the fan base a lot. They split again with Verdict Day, which added a whole nother new set of things, but then pulled back as well. It was always like one step forward, two steps back in a way. And I never thought the franchise felt as cohesive. Part of that's because that was when the From Software had a full, like they had full creative control over the games up until Armored Core 4, which is the first time when they had to rely on a third-party publisher to get a PS3 development kit. There's a long history with that, which I'll elucidate over the course of this playthrough. But it basically comes down to the fact that Sega threw them a bone and screwed them over. Ultimately, that was the start of the end for Armored Core. That was when Hidetaka Miyazaki kind of took over. He made his name. He convinced people to make Demon Souls. Armored Core kind of became a secondary series to that. And the history of From Software from that point on became the history of being bullied by publishers. And they seem to slowly be coming out of that range now with Activision publishing Sekiro and being a very hands-off publisher, helping them but giving them a lot of creative control and polishing it up. And that seemed to be nice. But this game has gotten a very good publisher treatment. Nintendo's still far and away top-notch publisher. Yeah, pretty good. So we have, like, some factions here, and that's essentially what the purpose of these Malzars introduces to the faction. We have our Operator, which is 4. Again, certainly not going to be revealed to be a malevolent AI. In every Armored Core game where there's a, like, AI leader, whether it's the Controller, whether it's, was a Nel Autor in AC Master of Arena? I forget the name of your Operator in that game, but it was an AI that turns out to be Hustler 1, spoiler alerts, and that's 9-Ball. An AI designed to keep mankind down on their knees by perpetuating this, like, underground society. But you also have the corporations, and so there's Sky Union here, which appears to be the, like, there seems to be, like, the equivalent of the Raven's Nest. They're like a, like, I think they give missions, but they're like, as a political organization, less so as a corporation. And then you have Horizon, which seems to be the, like, tech-focused organization, I believe. And you're all part of Oval, which is sort of the Pax Economica, which is this sort of, I think it's like this, like, collaboration with these organizations. I'm sure it will not go into a, like, war against each other, of course, like an AC4's plot with the National Dismantlement War, the Lynx War that destroyed the Pax Economica. A lot of great phrases here. Not as won over by the terminology here, but, you know, Horizon, Zen, Sky Union, these are very, like Buddhist future religion terminology that I quite like. Zen, I think, is the more tech-focused organization. They're the ones who make most of the Arsenal parts, I believe. I could be mistaken about that. Maybe that's... One of these makes Arsenal parts. Maybe that's not revealed yet, but I think that's... One of these is a manufacturer. I could be wrong. I'll find out more about the plot as we go along, because I've only seen the demo. Once I get all of this praise and excitement on my system, we will hopefully have a little more gameplay, a little less sitting in menus. But I think that's necessary for doing a Let's Play this game, and I'll probably do a supercut where I cut down to just the missions and do, like, a more measured trivia commentary base that's not on stream. But the stream footage will be what goes into the ultimate Let's Play. Unless I like have secrets and things like that. I'll do some heavy editing later on.
Hey, rookie.
But I want to get this up as
You got
fast
any
as
questions?
possible for
Hit me
people
up.
who are
I'd be
Armored
happy
Core
to show you
fans
the
but
ropes.
don't have a
So you're a
Switch.
vet now, Johnny.
Also, I believe the voice actor for
See
Falcon
what I
is
gotta
someone
put
that
up
I
with?
know.
Come on, Corporal.
They sound very
When are you
similar.
gonna stop treating me like a newbie?
4. Send us the mission data.
I think they're actually from Monster Hunter World.
Uploading.
The
That should be everything.
the commander, the
Consult this
or the
data
Fifth Fleet
for detailed
Commissioner,
information about the mission
the
area.
High Commander of the
Continue
area.
your approach. The mission will begin
I
soon.
hope that the areas are a little more varied moving on forward, especially in the demo. The maps were like very samey.
Catch you later, rookie.
I like the visual design a lot. I like the bright colors. It's away from that just muted blah of Armored Core 4 and 5.
Scanning.
And yeah,
back.
you can pick up vehicles and
Femtoparticle
objects.
density is low. Electronic
They,
devices will not be
compared to the
affected.
demo, they increased the
Initiating each arsenal's
jumping
data link.
and
Opening
falling
squad
speeds.
communications channel. Begin the mission.
Hey,
I
rookie.
like this like
Looks like you made
skating
it to the battlefield
thing
in
you
one
do.
piece.
It's like very
Welcome to the
Film of the
Oval Link.
Enders.
Exciting, isn't it?
This is hell, Johnny. Encased in a 2,000-kilometer wide barrier. Focus.
Come on, man. What do you keep busting my chops for? Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. The name's Johnny G.
Also,
I'm with
the
Global.
targeting, I believe, is
And that
done by
little
one of the
British
developers
giant is the corporal.
of the
He's with Bullet Works too.
Panzer Dragoon.
Please remember to use my call sign. Falcon.
My call sign is my real name. Man, I wish
Johnny
I had
G.
a cool
I'm
sounding
sure
call
I'm not
sign
going to have to
myself.
betray you later as
Call
well.
sign is just a
Little
word to help us
innocent,
ID.
idealistic
If you say so.
supporter.
Anyway, Bullet Works has been placed in charge of this area.
I like the map
other
is
areas
nice and
are
big
being handled
because
by other
that
reclaimer
is a
squads.
Choose your partners wisely.
that is definitely a
In
problem
this
in
line
this,
of work, the wrong person
in
is
this
killed.
dense
Corporal's
area
right.
having
You'll
good
definitely want to
maps.
steer clear of the shadier mercs. Just keep tabs on the mercenaries, and you'll learn fast who's hot and who's
Yeah,
not.
it seems like
Anyway,
the
back on
deciding
topic.
factor between a decent
Scotty,
player and a
managed
good
to
player in
hold
this
this
game is
area
going to be
for a long
femto
time.
usage.
But
Because I
every
can
now
use
and
my
then,
femto to
AI
speed
invaders
around
show
while
up
recovering
knocking
my
at the door,
stamina
trying
without
to get
losing
in.
speed.
And when that
Which is
happens,
a really
you get called in to clean house.
interesting
Pest
tactic.
control, more or less.
Pretty much. You probably already know about the Immortals, but just in case, they're responsible for
One of the
corrupting all
complaints
AI
I've seen
that
about
we've
this
been
game
sending
is
to
all of the
destroy.
dialogue happening in
Our
that little
arsenals are
corner.
more than a match for them.
That I
These
wish
AI
there's a
might
way
well
to
be
do like
fish
more
in a
proper
barrel.
subtitles. Because
The
it's
more
kind of
must
hard
be
to read
destroyed
that
on sight.
while you're playing
We'll
and
get
you're
a
like not
bonus
able to
for each
focus
one
on
we take out.
listening.
Stay within the mission area. 4 will alert you about the spread.
Just leave it to me.
Also, sometimes on the battlefield, you can salvage equipment for your arsenal. Whatever you find, you keep. Try to
Oh,
recover
map
any
here
equipment you
fits
come
me in
across.
these.
If you're lucky,
You are getting
it'll be
help
high
from
quality
the
stuff. But
see what
most
power
of
this
the
is
time,
here. You're getting help from the NPCs
I
in this.
think
And I
that
wonder
about
if like
covers everything.
Clustering is a bad tactic, so spread
I
out.
wonder if there's like
Need help,
if you just sit by, will they clear the whole mission for you, or are there like certain enemies they won't attack so
Time
you
to get
actually
this party
get
started.
some experience with? But yeah, because of the UI designers from Panzer Dragoon, you can really see the influence in the way the targeting system
Mission
works.
complete. Executing automatic return sequence. Return according to instructions.
Over already, huh? Looks like the rookie's
Yeah,
still one piece
over
too.
already.
Time to head home and
Nothing
Wait,
suspicious, right?
I
Oh
don't like how
no.
this smells. Something
What's that smell?
you and your nose.
Access granted. Sky Union's radar station has confirmed the appearance of immortals in the
Uh-oh.
vicinity.
You mean that thing we
Transmitting
just
target data.
described in the exposition dialogue a few minutes ago? They're here? Alright. Time to have some fun. I believe it is possible to beat these guys in this mission, but not if you have
What am I even
really
looking
bad
at?
equipment.
Sizes.
I'm gonna see if I can
Vegan class?
target their arms, because these bosses do have like
Mission
destructible
update. Sky Union
equipment.
has notified us of a change
Because I
to
want to see
this
if
mission.
you break the arm
You are to
off,
stop these
targeting
immortals from
wise,
advancing further
will
into Sky
you
Union's
get to
territory.
What? You've got to be kidding me! What's the call, Corporal?
You're right, Toby.
will you actually get to use like
Should've known you'd
blast
say
the
something
arm
like
off and use it as a weapon against them?
Fine.
I think you
I
might.
guess we're doing this.
There are no whiners in bullet wounds. Besides, I'm sure BG planned for this.
I really hope you're
I
right
have such a
about that.
small stamina cap that I feel like that's a problem with just starting ACs or starting arsenals. Your stamina cap is so low that you don't really get the opportunity to move like as fast as you should. The different hit zones on this mech do different damage, and I think you can. It'd be very interesting to see if you can actually target areas that are not in a hit zone, that are like secret hit zones. Like you don't have a target you gotta kill on them, but you can deal a lot of damage to them. I'm trying to focus on one particular part of them. You'll also notice that occasionally I'm switching my femto to the arm one, and about like almost doubles my damage, at least 1.5 times. I go from dealing like 15 damage, like 30 to 40 damage. There is a weak spot I'm hitting where I occasionally get 30s. I should be spamming my missiles with that.
Here's Gale is approaching.
They've changed the missiles. Like the maximum lock-on with the missiles is different, I think. It's not quite firing as it did before.
Major, Lieutenant.
I think you're on a time limit before the next cutscene will start. Yeah, and then this starts here. I believe there is a way you can beat that guy if you have better equipment, and I'm sure you go back to the mission and you can defeat him.
Follow my lead.
What's really interesting is that what they're about to do, I've confirmed, from what I understand, is that you can actually do this in the gameplay. This is cutscene Dante strategies here, which is that you can do co-op like melee strikes with your co-op partners when you play online.
You need to remember.
I don't know if it's quite as extreme as this, but
Besides,
very interesting.
both know I'm the superior
approach.
pilot. Just focus on defeating these.
Thank you for the exposition, not Charles Nabble,
But someday you'll be next.
not Hustler 1.
That's the spirit.
Also interesting that the black one's using a prototype skin. They stole my win. I didn't even get to
Mission complete.
didn't even get to
Mission
like,
accomplishment
the boss.
recognized.
I wonder
Initiating
if there's a
return
different cutscene
sequence.
if you deal like quite a bit more damage. Hey Falcon, how's it going? The lack of friendly fire bothers me. In Armored Core games, in Armored Core games, you almost always have friendly fire enabled, and you can destroy the other ACs, and that will remove them from the game and the arena and like the whole story. I do hope that there's a 1v1 arena in this game, but I feel like they would have at least had some of that in the demo if there was. See about that. So hello to some of the new viewers here. Got Virgo. Second. So yeah, I don't know what actually contributes to expenses other than like maybe if you have your individual parts destroyed. Something I didn't go into earlier was the stat screen that you get after each mission. And this is very similar to the stat screen that you get in Armored Core, but only in versus battles for that game. Here, we're actually getting a very large amount of stats for the just the normal combat, which is pretty nice. And you can see like your stamina, where like when you're using too much, or I think a good point of this is telling like, do you need a higher stamina cap or do you need a lower stamina cap? Like, because that's hard to intuit. Because yeah, higher stamina cap's always useful, but if you're not using it, you're usually missing out on something else in exchange. And this can tell you like, are you utilizing the full length of your stamina bar, which is something that is like a strategy in Armored Core, is to understand that you have energy, you need to use it, because otherwise you're just not moving as fast as you could be. And then that's your health bar there as well. They call it VP fluctuations. Instead of your AP, it's your VP. Instead of your armor points, it's the vitality points, something like that. Yeah, it's pretty good. And it's nice they call it fluctuations, because that actually matters in this game, since you can heal, which you can't do in Armored Core. Which is a lot less accessible. This is nice. You can see like the ratio of weapons you use. Like the auto fire weapon, I used a bit more of, because it fires automatically. And then there's like the missiles, and that's not just the ratio of shots you fired, like your usage rate, and your accuracy, but also the damage output rate. So that is, again, things that this game has that I think people are going to overlook. Being able to understand the difference between your usage, your accuracy, and your damage output ratio in a game like this is so critical. This game is giving you a wealth of options to maximize and optimize, and it's basically saying, like, we want to create a game where you can be the best person you can be by your own design. We're not going to hold your hand, but we're going to give you all the stats you want. You want to know, like, what stat you need? Here you go. And to someone with an economics background like myself, that is porn. That is lascivious. Looking at this makes me go, yes, I can make decisions in this game that no other game has. And I think that's a defining feature of a game that is truly unique, is that the decisions you're making aren't just, do I kill this guy? Do I not kill this guy? Do I fire now or fire later? Do I equip the thing or not equip the thing? It's these marginal decisions, these more realistic gray decisions where there isn't an answer, and it depends. And there's not going to be a perfect build, and no two players are going to be identical.
I see we
And
have
that
a new face
is-
with us.
That
Let
is
me
what this
introduce
style of
myself.
game can
I'm
do,
Crimson
that you can't
Lord,
get in a character
second in
action game,
command
that you
to
can't
Bullet
get
Wars.
in other games.
And this
Because you
is
have to have a sufficiently
Young.
complex level of customization, controls, and movement
You did
to
well
be able
out
to
there.
start introducing stats that
sure to keep
even
in
matter
mind.
in that context.
What an ordeal. I just wanted to score some quick credits. Good thing those two swooped in to save us.
We're still alive.
You with your Kamina glasses.
That's all that matters.
It is kind of
You
interesting
really
that
gotta
the
work on your praise
view of the
more.
future here is that, like, augmentations make it where no
Until
one
next
really
time.
looks human. Like, they all look like they've got these weird aesthetic things going on. With the exception of Char here.
I will provide all
Char,
necessary information
aka
for
Nine
completing
Ball,
future
aka
missions.
the
Is
red
there anything
Oni
you'd
to
like
our
to ask
blue
me?
Oni. He just has a normal looking face and a scar. Like, game is anime as shit. I love it. The story so far is like a mix of, like, if Armored Core was a, like, B-roll anime, this is what it would be. And it's just pretty interesting. Like, there's actually a question and answer thing, and that's good, because this type of game, usually you're just a purely silent protagonist. I think the answers, the questions, you can just ask them all, and it doesn't really matter, but it saves you from having to ask everything every single
Immortals are a
time.
new form of life. That much is certain.
Yes, it does. And this game, like, almost explicitly references Human Plus, because there is a mechanic in this game that fascinates me, that I have yet to mention, and that is the mechanical augmentations. You can augment your character, because you can actually get out of your mech and, like, fight with the characters, as the controls showed. You can augment your character's control, like, actual abilities in combat, as well. I don't know if you can augment their piloting ability in the mech, but you can augment their outer abilities. And if you augment them, you lose humanity in, like, a very cyberpunk sort of way. And if you have too many augmentations, the game will stop registering you as a human, and your allies will attack you. Supposedly. I haven't yet seen this, but this is the rumor I've heard. And that is mind-blowing, because they managed to take the concept of Human Plus, which, if you're not familiar, in Armored Core, Human Plus is a,
After the moon fell, an
it's a
unknown
mechanic
phenomenon caused some
that,
AIs to regard humanity as a threat that must be
it
annihilated.
allows you to have, like, abilities you can't get in the base game, but you have to go through a lot of difficulty to unlock it. In Armored Core 2, you had to die a lot. In Armored Core 1 and Master Arena, I don't remember how they unlocked it. I think it's unlocked when you beat the game, and then you have to transfer your save file over. But in Armored Core 2, you had to die a lot and go into debt like 7 times. And in the other games, you can bring it over with an item you get when you've beaten everything else in the game. And
These immortals have their... They can also
The
corrupt
concept-
other AIs and human
they
weapon
learned their own
systems,
unique language. I didn't know that.
assimilating them into their ranks.
I
to
hope
bolster
decoding
their
that will
forces.
become a part of the story later on. It would really disappoint me if they're setting all this stuff up and it doesn't pay off later.
Working alongside the consortiums, our goal at
Consortiums,
Orbital
not
is to
corporations.
control all areas in the Oval Link.
Consortiums. And I think Oval Link is like the habitable region. The moon falling is a pretty cool idea as well. But yeah, so like this plot takes heavily from Armored Core, where
Missions to
corporations
eliminate immortals
experiment
are
on
assigned
human
to
bodies to
mercenaries
create better
like you
mercenaries.
to achieve that goal.
And the fact that they've taken that concept in the story and not just made it a like unlockable like AC did, but made it a mechanic, one of those levers you can switch with like a trade-off, is really interesting.
Your individual
I hope you
ability
can
has the
replay
greatest
these
impact on your
cutscenes,
arsenal's power. But new
like once you
weapons
beat the
and
game,
equipment
because I
are
would like
just
to be
as
able
important.
to show, like to go back in and rehear some of this dialogue.
You can also have experimental weaponry loaned to you by building your reputation with specific consortiums.
Oh right, yeah, they do that.
Building your service record through repeated
So this
battles
game has a
is
very
the
limited
fastest way
shop,
to becoming as
unlike
strong
Armored
as
Core,
Crimson
where-
Lord and Diablo.
The balance approach to Armored Core is that they gave you like 80 to 90% of the weapons in the game immediately. You had to unlock them in the shop as you went along, but like a good like 70 to 80% were unlocked in the first few missions, and you get the other 10% unlocked, and the last 10% were secrets. This game seems to take a different approach, which is that you gain weapons by picking them up, primarily, and unlocking them in the shop requires sort of a Metal Wolf Chaos investment idea. Yeah, there's a chat referencing Human Plus
Your
here.
reward payout is higher than usual this time because your mission objective was updated from its original listing.
Oh, that's nice. There is a mission in Armored Core where you get to see like the results of this Human Plus testing, and they are like it destroys these people. The item pickup doesn't just refer to weapons and items; it refers to like whole body parts too, which is really fascinating to me as well.
There is
A
precedent
lot of things
for
about this
requesting
game are
higher
fascinating
payouts,
to me.
but I do not recommend it, as it can leave an unfavorable impression with the client. Your reward payout is higher than usual this time because your mission objective was
It also
updated
gives you
from its
incentive to
original
defeat
listing.
enemies that would otherwise be optional, which is a problem that some of the other games had. Armored Core 4 as a concept is like, what if we took the Human Plus and like took it to the extreme where every pilot is Human Plus? And in that game, there uses a system called the AMS system, where you're basically like piloting the mech with your thoughts. There's actually a character in that game that has got an AI brain, like half human, half AI brain augmentation that pilots a mech as an experiment. And it's like, those are just crazy ideas you can play with. A lot of this comes from Evangelion and a few other franchises like Escaflowne. In fact, I would argue Escaflowne is the bigger influence because both the mech designer for this game and the mech designer for all the PS2 and PS1 Armored Core games, Shoji Kawamori, also mech designer for a lot of other things, including Macross, he is the director and creator of Escaflowne, the main concept of which is a mecha that is a knight that steals your blood and hurts you physically when you get hit. And that really cuts down to, I think,
There
what
is
is the...
precedent for requesting higher payouts, but I do not recommend it,
Oh, did I?
as it can leave an unfavorable impression with the client.
You just said that. I guess it's a different dialogue. I should actually save my rants for when I'm in the customization screen. But yeah, they're not fully integrated in like a Zone of the Enders. If you leave, you die sort of way. But it is very much like there is a fixed number of links that are even available, and they like you cannot get inside someone else's AC in those games. But this is getting at the core of like why mech matters. Why do people like giant robots? It's not just about explosions. Like why couldn't you just make this game identical gameplay, identical mechanics, but you're playing as a person, not a robot? And that's because, and I'll talk about this a lot in a video essay I'll be making in the future sometime when I have more time to work on it. But mechs represent a metaphor for what it's like to like live in real life. And Evangelion gets to this very well, and it's we all have our inner thoughts and the way we think about the world, and then we have what we actually do. Our physical bodies, like what we're actually doing on a day-to-day life. You know, what we want to say and what actually comes out of our mouth. And what most character action games don't have is that disconnect. Like, what you do as a character is your character in those games. But with a mech game, you have the opportunity to introduce this disconnect, where you're not able to do everything perfectly because you can't control it. And that creates a metaphor, and Gundam hits this as well in relation to like war is bad, where the struggle to control your body and to like understand this complicated system, to figure out what decisions you need to make and why, and to not have your hand held, and to like have to look at this stat sheet and this intimidating world and own it and control it. That understanding is a exact metaphor for the difficulty of learning to control a mech and being able to not move in the way you imagine it, but have to use clunky controls. And this is one of the things that video games are good at representing. And I feel this is lost with a lot of mech games. And Evangelion uses it hammers this metaphor over and over again with the AT field. I don't think I've got any armor upgraded, but I do have some weapons. Oh, so interesting. The new weapon tags will disappear after the mission's over. Here, same with guns. I suppose I don't have a weapon. Thinking about that. Alright, let's go on to the next mission. But yeah, Evangelion uses the AT field, which is literally a field that makes you more powerful the more confident you are. And like, that is a crazy metaphor, because it's like, it's saying, like, the point of Evangelion, and you see this in a lot of mech games, is mastering the world around you requires discipline, requires practice, and requires controlling yourself as much as it does the mech. And Evangelion is like, if your mind is not in the right place, you're not going to be able to pilot this this giant robot. And Armored Core hits this as well with Human Plus, and with like the idea of the dominant and the irregular.
This mission
like the idea of the dominant is a character that is so in tune with combat that they can adapt and improve in real time, and so they're impossible to be defeated by someone who's not a dominant.
In response to the appearance
Because
of
they'll
Beacon
always
class mortals
understand the
during previous mission,
situation better. And this
Sky
is something
Union
you
has
see
deemed
really
it
exclusive
necessary
to
to
mech
investigate
games.
neutral areas to prevent future immortal
Nier Automata is,
invasions.
again, one of the only few games I've seen touch on some of these issues. And they're very subtle in most mech games. Most mech games are just about blowing things up and shooting things.
I've uploaded
But,
a map of the mission area. The area you'll be investigating
It's kinda like how
shares
you
a
could
border
say
with
that
Sky Union's territory. Complete any necessary preparations.
Metal Wolf Chaos,
Then stand by.
the
and await
mech in that
dispatch.
game is
Briefing
like
over.
a representation of the like literal suit of armor you have that separates
class
a president from like consequences.